Everyone, I am just going to view waiting for some people to come on in because I accidentally closed one of my docs and I can't see folks. Good afternoon. Hey everyone. Hi guys. Okay, so let's start. Today is Tuesday, right? Yeah, Tuesday, October 15th, 2019. It is 12:48 p.m. Eastern Time. Controversial title of the video today. Video being brought to you by the Donald Trump Freedom Coin, the Commander-in-Chief coin, which is their new coin. Beautiful thing, beautiful coin. It is gorgeous with this flag and the kind of raised Trump on the front. You guys can pick yourself up one of these coins at TrumpCoin2020.com. Use the code Tracy Space Beans for $5 off. Support the channel sponsor that supports me. They're great over there at Noble Gold and Trump Coin. Controversial here, okay? We're in a controversial world where everybody has an opinion, of course. And I saw this article come out last night, and I guess it didn't come out last night. I guess it came out, it was a while ago, a couple weeks ago. Just seeing it making the rounds now. And I wanted to go through a whole bunch of stuff with you. And I want to ask, before I start, for everybody to please take a deep breath and use a thinking brain and not an emotional one. This is a supercharged topic, and I was kind of blown away by a lot of the responses that I was getting on my Twitter yesterday. For several reasons we'll go through. This article came out by Paul Sperry. And one of the things that it focuses on here is the fact that Horowitz, when he was in college, volunteered on the political campaigns of some Democrats and donated later to the campaign of Colorado Senator Michael Bennet. It doesn't say what year. It doesn't say when. It doesn't say how much. It doesn't give a link to the FEC records. It doesn't show a link to the FEC records for his wife, who I don't necessarily care about, to be honest, right now. And I'm going to explain why. And I also need to, again, just do a brief overview here for folks, because if you're making an emotional decision based off of factual information, that's fantastic. Great. If you're making an emotional decision based off of your misinformed opinion because you've not been informed properly, you're unclear about facts, you have wrong facts, you think you know something that is true, but it's really actually not true, or you don't understand something and you think it's something else. Like, in other words, just a general misinformed way that people are walking around only because it's so hard to find information. And a lot of people are misleading folks. And it's really disappointing. So I want to try to give facts and data here so that people can then make their informed decisions, not making them off of misinformation and wrong facts. It's so dangerous. And I've seen it dozens and dozens of times through no fault of the people making the comments. Like, literally through no fault of theirs. It's just, everything is very complicated, and it's really hard to know what's true and what's not. So here's the deal. The Inspector General does not make prosecutorial decisions. The Inspector General of the Department of Justice is able to refer for criminal prosecution. They are able to subpoena employees for records. They're able to talk to anybody within the government. They are not tasked with the power to speak to anyone who has left. They are, Here is the FAQ from the OIG DOC of what OIG investigates and what their powers are, okay? And it's great to see all of you guys out there. I'm loving your comments. I'm going to try and clear up a lot of this misinformation and stuff for everyone. So then, hopefully you have a bigger knowledge base. It's going to be a little bit of a longer video. I hope you have the time to hang out. The OIG investigates a variety of matters, including allegations of fraud in grants and contracts, improprieties in the administration of department programs and operations, allegations of employee misconduct, and other issues concerning ethics and compliance received through the hotline. They also investigate reprisals against whistleblowers within the department, as well as its contractors and grant recipients. OIG initiates investigations based on information received from a variety of sources, including their hotline, departmental, GAO, and DOJ referrals, congressional requests, and referrals from OSC, Office of Special Counsel, regarding whistleblower disclosures. While anonymous complaints are accepted, they often present the greatest difficulty to investigate. Who does their investigations? They are criminal investigators who are federal law enforcement officers. The employees of the department. In other words, just to let you know, the IG is not a federal prosecutor like the FBI has. He works for the government to investigate the government and hold oversight of the agencies and the government, meaning he can't go to former FBI Director Joe Schmo and say, hey, you have to come in and talk to me about this. Once they're gone, they're gone. And then there's other things that need to be done to get them in. Just want to make sure that's clear. Employees can assert their Fifth Amendment right to refuse to provide info, but only if it's self-incrimination. For a case that has been declined for criminal prosecution by the DOJ and did not require a referral, the employee may receive a written advisement, and then they must fully cooperate with the OIG. So in other words, if it's not a criminal issue and they don't want to comply, the OIG can grant immunity to the person so that they can comply and give them the information they need. We're reviewing right now what the Office of Inspector General's task set is. And so then we can move forward understanding what he can and can't do and what he is and is not tasked with doing to hopefully clear up the misinformation out there about what Horowitz's role is. And I'm going to show you also in a second a series of reports that have come out and their conclusions to further dispel the rumor mill out there about what he's doing. Anyway, I will link this for you guys. You can find it. It's very, very interesting. It's several questions. But the OIG talks to current employees. That's what they do. That is why Sessions brought Huber on in the early stages of this to work with Horowitz on the FISA investigation. So one of the things that was inside of this article from Real Clear Investigations that people are really freaking out about was that, again, Michael Horowitz volunteered when he was in college, just on the political campaign of several Democrats. And then he donated to Colorado Senator Michael Bennet at some point in his life, which we're not told. A former colleague, we're not told when, who was seeking the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination and doesn't like Trump. And now because of this, because he's not a government employee. And then somebody asked, is that why Carter Page wasn't interviewed? Yes. So, anyway, he can talk to people so Michael Horowitz can go and talk to somebody. Or, if they're not in the government, I'm 99% sure that that's the case. But if he doesn't need to, he doesn't ask to because it's very much outside of scope. And Carter Page was never a government, quote, employee. So he's really way outside of his jurisdiction. He may have been an informant and a paid one, but he was never an employee of the government, way outside of his jurisdiction. Again, if I am speaking off I'm not even going to give a disclaimer. So anyway, then they talk about his wife. So I just wanted to look through and see what Michael Horowitz has donated to political campaigns from 1999 through January 20 through next year, basically. Okay. So here is a list of Michael Horowitzes in the country. who have donated to Democrats. Now, I know he's Michael E. Horowitz. Sometimes they don't do that. Obviously, this Dr. Michael Horowitz is not it, but this is Michael E. Horowitz. So in 1999, he donated $1,000 to Friends of Schumer. Same twice. And I'm not seeing very much else. I mean, yeah, so he's a Democrat. Okay, whoop-de-woo. Do I really care? No. Because want to know why? Oh my goodness, look at this. It's Donald Trump's contributions. Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. Oh my God, $5,000. That's it. Donald Trump is swamped. Get rid of him. Kick him out. He shouldn't be president. Shouldn't be. Bad stuff. Here, wait. Solutions America PAC, I believe, is a Democratic PAC. Friends of Schumer. Chuck Schumer. Oh my gosh. He donated to Chuck Schumer? Oh boy, that's a big problem. Look, 2000 he gave $5,000 to the Democrats. Hold on. Oh, Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee contributions, another 1,000 here. Oh, hold on. Let's take a look at this one. Another House race. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? I know, he gave money to everybody. Do I have a problem with it? No. No. Do you want to go through a list of people that we appreciate and think are stand-up people and see who they've donated to and then tar and feather them based off of a political donation 20 years ago? Is that what everybody wants to do? Because I think it's ridiculous. Straight up. That part of this and what people... that's the focus of this article that Paul Sperry wrote for a lot of people is oh my God, Michael Horowitz once 20 years ago donated to a Democrat and now he worked on their campaigns in college. So by that logic, we should also crucify every single person who walked away. I'm just pausing to see response here. Everyone who walked away should be crucified for donating to Democrats in their past. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. I'm sorry. Now, the rest of this article, it's misleading in many places. And, you could make a counter argument to every single thing that Paul Sperry says in here. Every single thing of why he didn't do the things that Paul Sperry is proclaiming were so horrible that he didn't do. But I'd rather not even do that because I don't want to sit here and piece through another person's work like that. You guys can take this for what it's worth. You're smart, right? Read the article, come to your own conclusions. What I want to do is show you the other side of the coin. The other side of the coin is not what people are looking at. People are saying he's an Obama appointee. This is the thing. We're at a point right now. It is October 15th. We were told the IG report was coming out on Friday. Then Maria Bartiromo had to walk it back. People are just getting fed up with the lack or the slow process of things. They're throwing their hands up in the air. They're becoming negative Nancys. But they're not becoming negative Nancys based on facts. They're becoming negative Nancys based on exasperation and fear porn clickbait headlines that are not accurate. And that is what is frustrating, okay? I am constantly, trying to tell people that you have to base your decisions off of factual information that's in front of you. This specific issue of Michael Horowitz, I'm not basing it on prosecutions coming from the DOJ, which is a completely separate entity from the OIG. He never said no bias. That's another thing. So everyone's like, he's saying no bias. He's saying no bias. That is a blatant lie. That's not what he said. And I think the big problem is that nobody has days to read 600 pages of report. I did because I do. And so, to be honest with you guys, when you say he found no bias, you're just not informed properly. And I'm sorry, I'm not being mean. It's just the truth, and I'm going to show it to you. Okay? So, I know I'm pissing off 50% of the people by saying all this stuff, and the other 50% agree with me, but I'm not saying my opinion here. I'm going to show you physical truth and information, okay? have to understand that I know that everybody wanted this to be a 2-month long thing, and then all of a sudden everybody goes down in flames and everybody's behind bars. It's just asinine. There's no way, shape, or form that that's possible. It's just not possible. Yeah, we're 2.5 years in or whatever now. We're unraveling the most disgusting, corrupt scandal in American history, and it's not going to happen on your timeline or yesterday. I'm sorry, it's just not. It has to be done a certain way, and I always use this example for comparison. Michael Avenatti was indicted on 13 counts or so of financial fraud stemming out of California. His investigation went going for 3 full years before they indicted him, and that's just Michael Avenatti. That's just Michael Avenatti. And somebody said in the comments just now, they did it to Manafort, Flynn, Cohen, etc. Yes, on loose nonsense. If Flynn would have gone to court, they would never have been able to convict. Same thing with his business partner that the judge just vacated all the charges on. Michael Cohen pled guilty to crimes that he didn't even commit in order to get away with the stuff that he actually did do financially, which was outside of Donald Trump. So they had him on something else because he was slimy, right? Who else did you mention? Manafort. Manafort was guilty of tax evasion. Sorry, not sorry. He did it. He was guilty of tax evasion. So either you have a weak ass case that you're using to strong arm people, or you have a strong case that, people actually did do something wrong, and so they flip on other things because they're chicken. So anyway, it's just emotional reactions. Please just try, for the sake of this live stream, to put them on the side. I'm emotional too. Trust me. I've been waiting for this for years, just like you. I've been doing all the research just like you. I understand the emotional perspective just like you. I get it. This is not some hope porn stream, just like I critique the fear porn streams, okay? Let's just take a look, okay? Let's just take a look. Here I have all of the... Hold on. Okay. I had the Fast and Furious investigation up in front of me, but it's gone for some reason. However, the amount of wrongdoing that Michael Horowitz found in Fast and Furious, which, by the way, started his crusade against the Obama administration. The Obama administration was taken to task by Michael Horowitz. Trump Soldier on Twitter did an entire thread about this 2 years ago, which I asked him for this morning, but he hasn't seen my message yet, where he goes through all the hearings that Horowitz sat in order to change the legislation so that he would be able to have access to the things that he needed access to be able to do straightforward oversight of the Department of Justice. And he got that done. He was able to work through the proper channels to get legislation passed to protect the integrity of the Inspector General. Because during the Obama administration, they made a new sort of thing where when he would try to investigate things and ask for docs, Eric Holder would just say, no, we don't have to give them to you. And so obviously him asking permission of the head of the department to get the documents he needs to do the investigation about that department doesn't work. And he hated it. And he fought against it tooth and nail. I've watched the hearings. So for everybody out there claiming that Horowitz is some deep state plant, I beg to differ. And I think a lot of the reason why people are doing this is because they're just not well informed. They're just not well informed. Not through any fault of their own, but because we haven't done a good enough job of giving you all the facts. So, look, you can read the Gateway pundits and whatever when they write their scary articles about how things are never going to happen and everybody's a deep state plant and nobody's doing anything right. And it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. It really is. I'm sorry. If it were true, I would be the first person screaming about it. It's just not. Straight up. That's it. It's just not true. So let's look at what is true. Let's look at the conclusions in the mid-year exam 568-page report that nobody read. That nobody read. And then real quick, I'm addressing the stream comments in this. Somebody said Horowitz did work with Comey and McCabe for years. So what? Rudy Giuliani was in the Southern District of New York. Does that make him a swamp rat by automatic, association? No. Let's think of some other people that held administration positions and then worked alongside some of the horrible people that we know that aren't swamp. What about Admiral Mike Rogers? He worked alongside of Brennan and Clapper. Does that make him a swamp rat? Anyone? Okay. Rudy Giuliani was also a U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York, not just the mayor of New York. Rudy Giuliani was a U.S. attorney. So was Joe DeGeneva. Joe DeGeneva and Victoria Tunsig were U.S. attorneys. Sidney Powell was too. They worked amongst a bunch of swamp rats. Does that make them swamp rats as well? Michael Flynn was a registered Democrat in the Obama administration, appointed to DNI. He saw what was going on and knew it was wrong and spoke out about it. Does that make him a swamp rat too? Because Obama appointed him and he worked under Obama? No, it doesn't. No, Horowitz didn't donate to the DNC, but Donald Trump did. So I guess that makes Donald Trump a swamp rat. I'm being sarcastic. I'm just saying, don't automatically assume things because someone tells you someone donated to someone. Do a little more research about it before you jump off of the diving board into the empty pool. Okay? Because I'm seeing a ton of freak out here. And I feel like people are making the freak out decision without the base of information they need to be able to make it. And if you get the base of information that you need and then you make the freak out decision, that's fine. That's fine. In contrast, guilt by association, someone saying is lame. And I agree. Do you know how many times I've been accused of things because I'm standing next to somebody that I have nothing, it's sick. It's sick. It's not fair. It's not right. It's not right. It's happened to me. So I know it's just not right. If somebody, let's say somebody donates lots of money to Democrats and then they act like Andrew McCabe, well then, yeah. Or Bill Gates, well then, yeah. Or Mark Zuckerberg, well then, yeah. Because we have a body of evidence behind them that we can see what their actions are. But when you've got a body of evidence behind you like we're going to go through now, and then you happen to 20 years ago when you were in college work on the campaign of a Democrat, whew. And yes, Trump did donate to Kamala Harris. And Michael Cohen was a part of that. He also donated to Schneiderman. So, yeah, there's that. Now, the Clinton email investigation was one of the highest profile investigations in the FBI's history. This is not their conclusion. Hold on. I was on the wrong page. Sorry, guys. Let's go on to this one first. OIG analysis on Jim Comey. Why is this happening? I had everything all lined up here. I wanted to go through these conclusions with you and show you that they did find bias. And he did say that there was bias. And it's in here. And the page was up. And now it's not anymore. And I'm live streaming. So I'm going to make you wait while I find it. Hold on. This is what he said I went over this back then. I'm just going to say. This is what Michael Horowitz said in terms of the mid-year exam. He said he was unable to find evidence of bias in the decisions that he was asked to investigate in regards to this. Various actions by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. He said that he was given these fact sets right here to investigate, and he was unable to find evidence of bias in those specific actions that he was asked to investigate. Not in the overall case, not in the overall decisions that were made, just the ones he was asked to look at. So, yes, people say he found no bias, but that's not true because he said he did find bias. He found bias in Peter Strzok and Lisa Page's dealings with the Russia investigation because they prioritized that over the Clinton email investigation. I have a crink in my back. As we describe in Chapter 5, we found that Strzok was not the sole decision maker. We found evidence that they advocated for more aggressive investigative measures in the mid-year exam, like grand jury subpoenas and search warrants. There were tensions and disagreements. There was no documentary or testimonial evidence, including that improper considerations, including political bias, directly affected the specific investigative decisions we reviewed. Does that make sense to everybody? We did not find documentary or testimonial evidence that improper considerations, including in political bias, directly affected the specific investigative decisions we reviewed in Chapter 5, or that the justifications offered for these decisions were pretextual. Only 5. Here, nonetheless, these messages cast a cloud over the FBI's handling of the mid-year investigation and the credibility. We found, the broader impact of the text messages, including on such matters as the public perception of the FBI in the mid-year exam, as discussed in Chapter 12 of our report, were biased. So here, let's find Chapter 12. I am so pissed off right now because I had this all lined up, all ready to go, and it's not right anymore. And of course, I do everything live now, so welcome to the world. But where are the conclusions? What page? Hold on. God. Where is this table of contents? Mother effer. This is the executive summary, which is long. Here. We found the conduct of these 5 employees who sent the text messages brought discredit to themselves, sowed doubt about the FBI's handling of the investigation, and impacted the reputation of the FBI. The conduct by these employees expressed in their text messages and instant messages to the specific investigative decisions we reviewed cast a cloud over the investigation, sowed doubt about the FBI's work on and its handling of it, and the damage caused by their actions extends far beyond the scope of the mid-year investigation and goes to the heart of the FBI's reputation for neutral fact-finding and political independence. We were deeply troubled by text messages exchanged between Strzok and Page that potentially indicated or created the appearance that investigative decisions were impacted by bias or improper considerations. Most of the text messages raising such questions pertain to the Russia investigation, which was not a part of this review. Nonetheless, when one senior FBI official, Strzok, who was helping to lead the Russia investigation at the time, conveys in a text message to another FBI official, "We'll stop it. No, he won't. We'll stop it." In response to her question, "Trump's not ever going to become president, right?" right? It is not only indicative of a biased state of mind, even more seriously implies a willingness to take official action to impact the presidential candidate's electoral prospects. This is antithetical to the core values of the FBI and the Department of Justice. This is what one of the conclusions of bias that Michael Horowitz made in the mid-year exam OIG report when he wasn't tasked to be doing that, and says so in his conclusion, and then says it's a broader issue. So I just read you what he said in response to the no, he won't, will stop it text message that I've seen like several people say he didn't do anything about that. He said nothing about that. So in the executive summary on that one paragraph here, improper disclosure of non-public information. We identified numerous employees at all levels of the organization with no official reason to be in contact with the media, who were nevertheless in frequent contact with reporters. Attached to this report are 2 link charts that reflect the volume of communications we identified between FBI employees and media representatives in April, May, and October of 2016. We have profound concerns about the volume and extent of unauthorized media contacts by FBI personnel we've uncovered during our review. In addition, we identified instances where FBI employees improperly received benefits from reporters, including tickets to sporting events, golf outings, drinks and meals, and admittance to non-public social events. We will separately report on those investigations as they are concluded, consistent with the Inspector General Act, other applicable federal statutes, and OIG policy. The harm caused by leaks, fear of potential leaks, and a culture of unauthorized media contacts is illustrated in chapters 10 and 11, where we detail the facts that these issues influenced FBI officials who were advising Comey on consequential investigative decisions in October of 2016. The FBI updated its media policy in November of 2017, restating its strict guidelines and identifying who's required to obtain authority. We do not believe the problem is with the policy, which we found to be clear and unambiguous. Rather, we concluded the leaks highlight the need to change what appears to be a cultural attitude. So look, that's just a few of the conclusions that Horowitz came to in the mid-year exam report, outside of the fact that in certain things that he was asked to look at, very specific things that he talked about even in his testimony in front of Congress when the Republicans were pushing on him, well, how come how could you say that this was an unbiased investigation? And Michael Horowitz would say, I was not tasked with investigating that. With this, I investigated and I could not find proof of bias. Tangibles. I get it. Everyone's pissed. We all know that the MYE was biased. We all know that Hillary Clinton deleted her emails. We all know that. But sadly, from a factual book standpoint, that is not what the OIG was tasked with investigating. He was not tasked with investigating whether or not the Hillary Clinton deleted her emails, or, how they found that, or what decisions they made, and critique the investigative steps that were made, that were decided upon. No, that's not what he was tasked to do. So everybody excoriating Horowitz for his responses on the MYE is just not looking at what his task list was and understanding what the results mean in reference to the task list. He was set to look at E. He looked at E. He didn't find what everybody wanted him to say, and he said so. But what he did find, there's 568 pages of that stuff. So there's that. There's so much more here. I really, really want you guys to read this. He did refer, there is a law enforcement sensitive portion of this that is redacted that he did hand over to the DOJ, because Horowitz can't arrest people. And Horowitz also can't charge anyone. So we're going to get to the declassification. You know what? I'll handle declassification now. Hold on a second. The declassification is another thing that everybody is misinformed on. Hold on. There is one thing. There is one thing in there that we didn't get. Today at the request, here's a press release from May 23rd, 2019. Today at the request and recommendation of the Attorney General of the United States, President Trump, listen closely, directed the intelligence community to quickly and fully cooperate with the Attorney General's investigation into surveillance activities during the 2016 presidential election. The Attorney General has also been delegated full and complete authority to declassify information pertaining to the investigation in accordance with the long-established standards for handling classified information. Today's action will help ensure that all Americans learn the truth about the events that occurred and the actions that were taken during the last presidential election, and will restore confidence in our public institutions. That doesn't say today President Trump directed the Attorney General to release all classified information to the American public so that they could read it. It says that Trump directed the intelligence community to provide William Barr with all of the information that they need, despite clarification, so that he can use it in his ongoing investigation. Does everybody understand the difference? I just want to make sure before I go on. This was the declassification. And it wasn't, let's declassify this and throw it out so that everybody can read it. That would be a big problem. I would be really worried if all of a sudden Attorney General Barr released everything for us to read. Want to know why? Because they can't use that stuff in criminal investigations if the entire universe has it all. That's why. So while Durham and Barr are traveling to foreign countries personally to speak to their leaders and figure out this damn mess, we don't want all of the information that was used or all of the paper trail to be available for the general public to read at their leisure. There's that. There's something else too. Hold on. 1 second. September 17th, 2018. This is another one. At the request of a number of committees of Congress and for reasons of transparency, the President has directed the Office of the DNI and the Department of Justice, including the FBI, to provide for the immediate declassification of the following materials. Pages 10 through 12 and 17 through 34 of the June 2017 application to the FISA court in the matter of Carter W. Page. All FBI reports of interviews with Bruce Orr prepared in connection with the Russia investigation, and all FBI reports of interviews prepared in connection with all Carter Page FISA applications. Now, do you see how that is written? Now we're going to read the next paragraph to make the distinction, okay? In addition, President Trump has directed the Department of Justice, including the FBI, to publicly release all text messages relating to the Russia investigation without redaction of James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, and Bruce Orr. We have not gotten that. He directed the DOJ to do it, including the FBI. It has not happened. But do you notice how this directive to publicly release text messages is different from this directive to allow for the declassification of the materials he listed here? So it's very specific. Now, back to reports. And, we don't have to go through these like this. Here's the James Comey one. People are saying that the Real Clear Investigations article says that Michael Horowitz made a conclusion on the classification of Jim Comey's memo. Look, he doesn't do that. It's not his function. And Horowitz referred James Comey for criminal prosecution. And the DOJ decided they didn't want to prosecute Comey for the reasons that I've gone over ad nauseum in other videos that I won't go over again today. But here is a list, a page and a half long, just a summary of the way the OIG and Michael Horowitz go after Jim Comey. I mean, if you read this, you'll see it. As described in today's report, the OIG concluded that the memos were official FBI records, determined that Comey violated applicable policies and his employment agreement by providing one of the unclassified memos that contained official information, including sensitive investigative information, to his friend, with instructions for them to share the contents with the reporter. Additionally, determined that Comey kept copies of the 4-7 memos in a personal safe and violated FBI policies and his employment agreement by failing to notify that he'd kept them or seek authorization to retain them. He violated applicable policy in his FBI employment agreement by providing copies following his removal of the 4 memos. He failed to fulfill his obligation to immediately alert the FBI about his disclosures once he became aware that they'd determined that one of them included several words, the names of foreign countries being discussed by the president, that were classified at the confidential level. Upon completing its investigation, the OIG provided its factual findings to the Justice Department for a prosecutorial decision regarding Comey's conduct as required by the IGA. After reviewing the matter, the DOJ declined prosecution. So tell me how Horowitz is a swamp rat in that conclusion there. And that's just a summary. Again, you can go to the report itself and read how they excoriated him for 38 pages. All the things he did wrong. So there's the Comey investigation. The McCabe investigation, which they're still sitting on whether or not they're charging him on or whatever else is going on behind the scenes. I have to look at that Pacer case. Michael Horowitz referred McCabe for criminal prosecution for lying to them and for leaking. In McCabe's case, it is in front of a grand jury. They've had a grand jury. There's been a lot going on with that. In Comey's case, my honest opinion is that, and what John Solomon has said, is that they've got him on so many other big things that they didn't want to open and investigate or put him put him in court for this when it was so weak because he had original classification authority, and they wouldn't be able to get a verdict on a conviction on him. So this video isn't about whether or not anybody's going to jail. It's about saying that Michael Horowitz is a swamp rat or deep state. We can do a whole nother video on why people need to go to jail. That's a given. And again, I've gotten information that people are going to jail. Listen, I know, shoot the arrows at me. That's fine. I'm just telling you what I know. That's all. And I'm tired too, by the way. Everybody's like, we're tired. And I know, I am too. But we got to keep going. It's funny because I was saying to myself in a weak moment before I was going to tweet, well, since everybody thinks that nothing's going to happen, maybe I should just stop doing this completely. Obviously, I don't mean it. But in theory, if you look at it, maybe I should just not tell anyone all this stuff anymore because it doesn't really matter to many people, I guess, if they know it or not. And that's what it feels like. Do people want to be informed and have the information they need to make decisions, or do they not want to be informed at all? And I'm not sure sometimes which one it is. And it's frustrating for everyone to go through this nonsense. It's disgusting and gross. And EH9435145, if you go back to the beginning of this, I already addressed the donations he supposedly made that nobody can really find. And the volunteer work. But, you know, there's report after report after report. Again, the no bias thing is just incorrect. And there's report after report of him excoriating these criminals. So no, he's not a deep state swamp creature. I'm sorry. We wouldn't have half of the stuff we have without Horowitz. We wouldn't know half the stuff we know without Michael Horowitz. If it weren't for Michael Horowitz, Peter Strzok would have stayed on the Mueller investigation. Can you imagine? Page would have been there. They never would have figured out they deleted the texts at all. The mid-year exam report was delayed because they had all these people come in trying to farm the text messages out. So I don't want to see people saying things about Horowitz and then their reasoning for it is just false. Like, if you're going to say Horowitz is a deep state swamp rat, I know he, found that Strzok and Page were politically biased and they were very concerned about what he said, but it doesn't matter to me. I'm just not a fan of Horowitz. None of the stuff he did really matters to me, and this is my opinion. Okay. But if your opinion is he didn't find any wrongdoing with Comey, I don't think he's doing a good job, I'm going to say you're wrong. Somebody must have told you some wrong information somewhere along the way, because he did. And that's that. That's really it. And I think another part of this is just on a personal level with you guys, is that, I see thousands and thousands and thousands of tweets a day from all different sorts of people. And so I think I get a different exposure to it than a lot of people do. And so it just feels different for me than a lot of people. Like, it's overwhelming sometimes to read everything and know that, like, if I could just explain this in a way that fits in 100 and something or 200 characters so that people would have a better understanding of what's happening. And, I'm not up here without documentation and I'm not selling you some hopium or something. I'm just saying that based on the body of evidence that we have in front of us, I absolutely do not agree that Michael Horowitz is protecting the deep state. I think that's just completely, it's just not factual. It's just not. So, if you guys appreciate the work I do and you'd like to become a patron, I'd be honored to have you. You can find me on Patreon at patreon.com/TracyBeans with a Z. Same for Subscribestar. I will look forward to seeing you guys in the coming days, and we'll keep on top of this stuff. And, if I wasn't passionate about this, I wouldn't be doing it. So sometimes the passion that I have for this country and what we're doing here kind of oozes out into my stream. This may have been one of those days. Have a fantastic day, guys, and I will talk to you soon.